Yeah, so I did have merch, and then it was all in a garbage bag, and some nice merch, New Theory, nice black, the whole thing. I had white shirts with black writing, and then all of a sudden, like I think my mother-in-law threw it out. But anyway, so with that said, yeah, we're rolling, guys. Hello, keep this in, by the way. Welcome to the latest edition of the New Theory podcast. I got some colleagues, friends today. I was on their show. They are the You Know I'm Right podcast. We got Joe Calabrese, Nick Durst. Gentlemen, welcome to New Theory podcast. How you doing today?
I mean, now that we're here with you, the day is great. I mean, right now we're recording this. It's late November, mid-November, a beautiful day outside in the 60s. I don't have to put a jacket on today. It's freezing all weekend, so I'm pretty excited to be here, Tom.
We're in a drought, right?
We're in a drought, yeah.
We had, there was a brush fire by my house a couple days ago.
In Staten Island?
In Staten Island, yeah. Because where the dump used to be.
Was it Italian lightning or was it a fire?
Italian lightning, that's right. Yeah, all the dry leaves and stuff and the uncharacteristically warm weather. It's not really a good fit.
Yeah, I was going to say it's crazy. So it kind of goes along with the warmth. All right. So these guys got a great podcast. I had the pleasure of being on their show. And what's unique about it is you guys are sports guys. You know your stuff better than anybody, which I like. But you have a lot of reality stars. But I want to first jump into you guys' background, what you did before, how you got here. So, Joe, why don't you go first?
So I primarily have a background in sports media. I've known Nick for a really long time, since we were in middle school. We reconnected later in life, but my background is in sports media. I worked for a couple of the major professional sports leagues, like Major League Baseball, the National Hockey League. I used to do a lot of digital management, media management stuff, a lot of video editing, right? A lot of working with the MLB.com app, the NHL.com app. I've done a few other freelance stops. I've worked for CBS Sports. Previously, I was an intern at NBC Sports, so I got to see the campus on Stamford, Connecticut. Nice. So yeah, I've been bouncing around the last couple of years, but again, primarily background in media, video production, all that kind of stuff.
Nice. Now Nick, you have more of a background, but you're also front-facing as a sportscaster,
yes.
Correct?
Yeah, so background-wise, I've worked in sports, I've worked in entertainment, have been at some big spots as far as media companies is concerned with WFN, MSG, Bleacher Report, MLB Network, DAZN. Worked a little bit with Rob Gronkowski. Also did some work with Damon John for quite a bit. So very well versed there. Currently working with a college, doing their social media. Also in charge of being like the face of the school, doing trivia videos, interviews and stuff. So that's cool. But yeah, I do a lot of sports casting as well. I do play-by-play and color commentary for NCAA for a bunch of different schools, all the sports. I've also done some food reviews, which I know you've seen and love those. So I've done a lot of those. Just was out in Vegas 2 weeks ago filming some more food reviews. So check out those soon on my Instagram at Nick's Food and Stuff. And it's just been a great journey, but it's definitely very difficult to make it into the broadcasting world. So keep trying, and that's why we have the podcast.
So Nick, yeah, I mean, it looks like to get into media, it's hard to begin with.
Yeah.
Social media is easy to do it yourself, but to get into the bigger leagues that you guys kind of worked in, what type of advice do you have for somebody who wants to start out in digital media, specifically in the sports space?
Yeah, so it's funny you ask this because I see people always posting this on LinkedIn. Oh, what advice would you give your younger self? What advice would you give a college student? The number one piece of advice I have to give, which is really sad and sucks, but be prepared to get laid off. You will get laid off. You're going to lose your job. All these media companies, they're sucking each other up. This one's closing, that one's closing, and they're all fighting with each other, and then everyone gets laid off. There's constant layoffs. Really, it's been really rough since 2020 moving forward here with the pandemic and then the economy, inflation, so many layoffs. I lost my job a few times over the past few years. I know Joe has this as well.
That is correct.
So it's just very tough. So you got to be prepared, have that mental mindset that you're going to get your dream job, and it might only last a year because then the company's going to go under.
So I will tell you this, and I own a very small media company, much smaller than the ones you deal with. Sorry, multitasking. And with that said, though, so we run very lean, as you tell them, answering text, which probably I should have an assistant answer. But we run very lean. So usually if you have so many people and so many, overhead and blah, blah, blah for media company, we tend to run very lean where I'll be honest, we overwork our people, but I've never had a layoff unless I had to do for performance. Otherwise, never due to lack of work, right? Now, the good times, you work a
Right.
lot. Down times, you're a little safer, right? During the pandemic, I didn't lay anybody off. And also, as the owner, I was like losing 20 grand a month. But I'm like, I believed in my team, and to this day, we're all very loyal to each other. But from I guess from your guys' end, it goes with campaigns, right? They have a big client spending a lot of money. They're doing great, right? Throwing money at you. But when it dries up,
Yes.
right? That's when they let you go because they don't run so lean like we do, right? So big companies. So my question to Joe is, with this environment, you guys being young guys, how do you manage like those ups and downs of, hey, great job here, no job, great job, no job?
Well, as Nick mentioned, a lot of these roles to begin with are very seasonal, part-time, very plug and chug type of things.
Yeah.
There's a trend now. There's a significant trend. If you see it, legacy media, the traditional way of doing media, it's slowly dying.
Yeah.
Right? Think about how people told you for years and years print journalism was dying. Nobody wanted to believe it until everything started to be digitally uploaded, and that is now the case. So legacy media is dying. People are gathering whatever type of content that they want to consume. They're doing it now independently. So that's kind of why you could see a company like the one that you started kind of get off the ground a little bit. And even though you're financially struggling at first, if you stick with it, you'll be able to get through it.
Yeah.
For Nick and I, it's a little difficult because the podcast market is starting to be oversaturated.
Correct.
So the only way you're going to stand out is what we do is just have a lead guest every single week, right?
Yeah.
And we're still in the process of working on that. But in terms of shying away from that, I've had the same experiences as Nick. And in my case in particular, I worked with good people. The structure of the company, everybody at the top, whether it was a manager, was very good to me. But the MO of all these companies, you're expendable to them, right? You're expendable. So my piece of advice would be just to get out there and start it, right? Whatever you want to do. Nick has other interests, including the food interests, as you guys mentioned. So everybody has their...
he's skinny, which I love.
It's great, right? His metabolism is through the roof. I can't figure it out.
I got a little bit of dad bod going now the last year.
Shout out to your 1-year-old son, Scott. He's so handsome.
God bless.
He's the best. God bless.
Thank you.
But yeah, it's just, there's a new way of doing things, right? And what's the name of your podcast? The New Theory.
Podcast, yeah.
Right.
Well, I would say evolution of thought begins with the new theory. So that's kind of our slogan for the show. So now you guys started my podcast. You guys are very good at guest acquisition. So Joe, why don't you give me your favorite guest so far?
My favorite guest. Whew. Okay, so I am a hockey person. So this was way back 3 years ago. Despite the fact that I am a New York Rangers fan, I was able to get the legendary Doc Emmerich to do the show with us.
Cool.
And we had a really great interview. It was about only 15 to 20 minutes.
Saying happy birthday to me,
And
right?
he sang happy birthday to you. He actually promised us a book that we never followed up with. But
If you know him, send this clip to him.
we'll send it to him. But I have a friend who also worked in hockey. He used to be the radio statistician for the New Jersey Devils for a long time. Doc Emmerich was the longtime broadcaster of the Devils, and then he became the primary national guy until he retired. So the reason why I like this story is because my friend who worked for the Devils gave me his contact information. After a couple of days, he didn't answer, but Doc actually answered an email of mine a couple of days later when it was out of sight, out of mind, and it happened on St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, shit.
So I remember that, and I'm always thinking like, oh, maybe there is something to this luck of the Irish thing, you know?
There you
But we've had a lot of really great guests, especially sports media guests. I have a feeling I know who Nick's going to answer.
Well, no, I'm going to ask him a different question.
Okay.
Give us your worst guest.
Ooh. I have
Worst
it.
guest.
Or toughest guest, or maybe didn't work out as well.
His name was Tom.
There we go.
Was his-
Yeah, I was on the show. My numbers suck. All right, let me rephrase it because I don't want you to not the person hate you. Maybe, how about this? How about a guest that was actually somewhat notable, right? Like notable guest. You got excited, a little geeked out over, but just it didn't do well for whatever reason.
That's a good one.
Got to think
Different
about
way to put it.
specific names, but I mean, just in general, there's a lot of people who they come on, they're very nice, they're gracious with their time, and then they just won't share the show on their social media. They won't support or anything.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like why did you come on? And I'm thinking right now because
Yeah.
we've had over 300 guests on,
Yeah.
so nobody specifically coming to my mind. I'm sure Joe looks like Joe's got
about
somebody.
10.
I got a couple of names, but for
We're
diplomatic
not going to share
reasons.
because then somebody will share that clip on social and never
Yeah.
talk to you. Well, I'm going to give you guys a comment/question. Okay. The bigger the guests I had on,
Yeah.
Gary V, whoever, and I love all the big guests that we had on. This before studio time. The bigger the guest I had on, the less inclined to share, or they just didn't share.
Yeah, they don't share.
Right now, where it gets tricky is as a media person, I'm supposed to put in there. I don't have agreements. I should. I know you're supposed to get like releases and stuff. I know I should. Oops. But what newer folks are doing is kind of like a expectation list, not a contract, but expectation list. Say,
Right.
hey, are you good with this?
Right.
So if they respond, you can remind them, but they still may not do it anyway, right? How do you work around that? Or are you like, when some new people come on, are you straight up like, hey, bitch, you got to share this shit? Or are you more, you know what, we really want you to share it, but you're being nice about it?
You want me to answer?
Sure, go ahead.
So a lot of the people that we have on, again, lately, I'll just mention reality
Yeah.
TV because it's very easy.
They're coming to us.
They're coming to us. They approach us, and
They're
a couple
inbound.
of music people have approached us, right? We get entertainers, right? So comedians, musicians. Initially, what we do is we give them the outline of what we are, right?
Yeah.
The interview. For low, our interviews are 15 minutes, depending on time. Usually, I would say the mean time we always get is 30 to 45 good minutes.
Yeah.
And most people, 80 to 90% of the people that we have on, especially who do it remote, they come on before. There's always a minute or two, a little bit of a reaction before, an interaction before. And then if we're lucky, we'll have 2 or 3 minutes after the fact. And a lot of people are gracious with their time. And we always get the compliment like we ask the best questions, right? So
I do amazing research.
You do?
We just had somebody on from Big Brother. Shout out to our buddy Tucker.
Right.
He came on. I was doing research. I found his Facebook page. I was looking at his post from 2012.
Wow.
So he was like really impressed by that. And then he
cool.
actually was a huge help. He was recording videos for us for promotion. He every clip we posted, he was sharing, getting 80,000 views on Instagram on his videos. So some people are just great and kind-hearted people, but it depends.
I also one tip that I guess I can give if you're like a podcaster or want to do this, don't do it. There's not a lot of money in it. But say you want to go through torture and go through with it. Is I'll look at to see if on Instagram do they share their shorts like if you were on X amount podcasts, right? And like I had Jerry Ferrara on not long ago. I
Right.
was really hoping he was going to share. He didn't. Good guy. I get why he didn't. I respect that. But I'll look at other like shows they've been on. Did they do any outtakes or hot takes? And if so, did they share it on their own social? So I'll kind of know ahead of time. Oh, this guy was on TED Podcast or girl was on TED Podcast. Oh, they never share.
Yep.
So they don't know the I'll ask, but I don't know the expectation, right? Or they did the 10, and then if they don't, I'll send them a hot take and say, hey, can you share that kind of stuff? So anyway, with that being said, all right. So the model for podcasting business-wise is not robust, right? So you guys having the ebbs and flows of
Right.
job security or insecurity, how did you kind of manage like the finances of that? How are you growing it? Have you found sponsorships? Are you looking for sponsors? Maybe somebody wants to sponsor the show. Walk us through the business aspect, Nick.
Yeah, I'll go with this. So sponsors, tricky, okay? Sometimes we get people that come on, they'll do 2-3 episodes, which is great. Love that. We keep getting approached, and I always turn it down by these companies that are like, hey, let me come on. I'm not going to pay you. I'll give you the promo code BS10.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'll pay you. And I'm like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, that's
and they're like,
affiliate, and you
I'm
don't
not
need
doing
that.
affiliate
Yeah,
marketing,
yeah,
and
yeah.
especially because a lot of these companies are those like sports betting
Yeah.
apps and stuff. And I'm like, you're telling me to do this. Your app is not legal in New York, where my main audience is.
Correct,
So you're getting free promotion.
Yeah.
I'm not getting a cent from
Correct.
it. So I'm very anti that. I'm sure you get approached by stuff like
All
that.
the time.
Affiliate marketing, for the most part, is nonsense.
Yeah.
Unless you are literally like someone
You
who
need
has
a large-
120,000
Yeah.
followers, and you
Yeah.
could get people who are silly to just, I'll buy this makeup thing. You're doing a makeup tutorial.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, I avoid that. As far as the business and where we're able to actually make some money on the show, it's the merch. You see, he's got the hat, he's got the
That's
shirt, and I got this. We got
We'll put a link
sweatshirts.
for that.
So the merchandise, people, we gotta, it's a nice slogan. People
Yeah.
kind of don't see the podcast, so people might just buy it because like,
So-
oh, I gotta get that. My wife always says that, or my husband always says that. I'm right. So that's where we kind of are able to make the money right now at this point. And as you know, it's a grind growing that YouTube channel to get that specific quota in order to turn on the monetization on certain stuff. So the subscribers, the average watch time the last week, it all varies ups and downs. So that's kind of where our business model is right now as far as growing stuff. We'll get some sponsors, like we get a local restaurant. They'll come on. They'll do, this episode's brought to you by whatever. Cool. Come on, Daddy-O's Barbecue. Yeah. They got the best pulled pork, and I asked the guest about the food. So you always try to integrate it more into the episode rather than just reading an ad. I want to talk about what the sponsor is and kind of ask a question there.
Yeah, integrative ads are much better than ad reads, which is pretty cool. Let's say you do it from a restaurant or something and different stuff that you can do. All right, because I like the business aspect of things. You guys are on the come, you guys are growing, but again, it's a tough business. In terms of, have you ever, like, I know some guests want to get paid, especially bigger guests.
Yes.
Right?
I'll take this one.
Yeah. How do you handle that?
Okay, so believe it or not, Tom, the bigger the guest, they don't want to get paid.
Okay, real quick. Sorry, let me preface. The biggest guests want nothing because they don't, charge.
Right.
It's just not what you do. They're so big that they understand the value of press. The smaller people don't know what they're doing. It is the mid-level who, like, their model is to make money off interviews and like don't understand it's not the way to go.
Yeah, so I'll give you an example. So I know you're not a huge sports fan, Tom, but maybe you're familiar with Adam Schefter.
Yeah.
Okay, so he came on the show.
Yeah.
He's the biggest guy we've
No
had.
big
right?
deal.
He was like, yeah, no problem, I'll come on. Then I'm asking people like that are like, it's like F-list, D-list celebrities. So I forget the actor's name, but in the Bronx Tale, the kid.
He's like,
how much could you pay me? I was like, we're good, don't worry.
I asked him a while back,
so
and
he was like,
$250.
so I was like, we're not doing it. Someone else recently, I was trying to book an Olympian that won a silver medal this year. Won't say his name, but we've had a ton of Olympians on: Tara Lipinski, Scott Hamilton, Ryan Murphy, Lily King. Yeah. And then this person was like, oh, love the idea. When can we do it? How long is it going to take? And what are you looking to pay us? I said, hey, I'm not looking to pay you at all. Yeah. I've had 300 guests on. We haven't paid anybody. I'm not going to look to start a new precedent. If that's a problem with you, then no problem. We'll cancel the podcast. And that's what we did.
And when you get bigger, they'll come back to you, hopefully.
Right. That's the thing about this is a little off the topic here, but the bigger you get, this is another frustration we've had. So we've had discussions with major networks, okay? Like, the big four, the big five, about, maybe you want to bring us on digitally wise. And I'm like, I don't know. I mean, like, your social media following isn't actually where we want it to be. And I'm like,
we don't buy followers.
So I'm like, okay. So if my following was at this quota you want, then what do I need you for?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do all the hard work and then come to you and let you make the profits.
There's a play where they're reaching out to podcasts and you can join our digital network and they charge the podcaster or the rev share and the ads are like 90-10 in favor of.
Yeah.
You don't gotta have a salesperson then. But like I've got approached and like we're not favorable terms.
Right, they're never favorable terms.
It's all the ad share and it's all bad terms. You've been through with a few networks. So.
I have.
So one other question, and my buddy Dave's outside. I want to have him come in for a second. Is what about have guests ever offered a paid to have you on, and if so, have you ever took a few bucks?
I have been approached to do other podcasts before, never to be paid to do it.
No. Somebody comes on your show. Hey, I'd love to be on your show. I know I'm a little out of your wheelhouse. I'll give you $300 to come on. You never got that?
No.
Well, recently somebody did email, was so random, had nothing to do with anything we do, and I said, happy to do it. It's going to be $75 for. They didn't answer back. So so I'm going to ask for it. If you're not, because sometimes if I'm getting
what you do,
I'm getting approached.
You disclose
and I'm like,
this.
I said, hey, this is not what we usually do. This is going to be like a commercial for you essentially. I don't think it's going to do too well on our end on our channel. So, maybe pay us a little. We'll get on because Joe, you've been approached. You go to all these mixers and stuff. People want to
Yes.
come on the show.
Do a
These
lot of
marketing
different
experts
events
that
and-
aren't necessarily part of our
Right.
expertise. So if you want to come on, you mentioned it before. We could start charging, making some money perhaps down the road.
And what I've noticed is a lot of major podcasts are now starting to offer a tiered system, right? So it's 500 for this, 1,000 for this, 2,000 for this. So I think the idea moving forward again is to create a very tight knit network where you have a marketing guy, you have a video editing guy, and you put it all together and you offer tiered packages based on where you are.
Well, we have a special guest, Dave Catalano, Big Cat, aka the Ticket Bastard. I'm meeting with him afterwards, and he's going to be on the pod soon. But I wanted him to jump in. All right, so you met these guys, I think, previously. Nick, Joe, this is Dave. All right, so now this guy's a Ticket Bastard. He has the best collection of tickets and memorabilia in the space, especially at his level. Phenomenal. So you're a hockey guy, right?
Huge hockey guy.
And what's your main sport?
Baseball.
Okay, let's geek him out a little bit. What's some of the good stuff you have?
Hockey would be 94 Rangers Stanley Cup ticket.
Really?
Wow.
Yes, at 54 years in the making. So it's Game 7 ticket signed by Mark Messier, writes "Let's Go Rangers" on the bottom, 1994 SC champs. So that's a big one. That's a big one. Any Game 7 ticket for any major event, baseball, hockey, whatever the case may be, it's a big ticket.
And I've been meaning to ask you this. I know it's a little different now. Back in the day, is a stub worth more with the stub on it or without?
So if you have a full ticket, obviously that's more desirable. Yeah, for some collectors, they want to feel like somebody actually held that ticket and was there. Yeah. So there's some good like spirit juju in that ticket, in that physical ticket. Shit. Because if the ticket wasn't used, then that means it was thrown in a briefcase because somebody had a VIP pass, somebody had on-field access or whatever and didn't need to use their ticket. I have a ticket now that's like that, and it's a ringside ticket from 1988 Tyson Spinks, where Tyson knocked out Spinks in a minute and 31 seconds. Mm-hmm. And on the ticket, it says VIP Golden Ringside, $1,500 for the ticket, unused.
Oh, wow.
So the person, whoever that person was, had a big old VIP pass and just walked in, whether it was Don King's ticket or who knows.
Wow.
But it was, the provenance of the ticket was not, told to me. So
that's
I was just happy to get it.
I just make it up. I'm sure.
Yeah.
What do you got for Nick? Give us geek us out on some baseball stuff.
Oh man, baseball. So
he's a Mets fan. I'm a Yankees fan. So we have the solidarity, not with him.
All right. Yeah. So mostly, I did have the Buckner ticket. I did have that.
Stop it.
Yeah. So that was Game 6, 1986 World Series.
You sold it?
So I sold it.
Can you share how much or range or not?
It was like 800. It was something along those lines. Yeah. It wasn't signed by Buckner or Mookie.
No.
They not recently, but maybe over the last couple of years, have been doing shows together because people want them to sign items together. Mm-hmm. So
he passed, no?
No,
they're around. Both of them are still around.
I think you're thinking of Gary Carter.
Oh, okay.
Gary Carter's the one from the
So
80s,
how has everything going digital impacted your business? And is it because I have a physical ticket in the digital era, Antonio Brown's last game where he walked off the field with his shirt. I have that ticket, a physical ticket in the digital era. So I'm curious if now in the digital era, if there are those few physical tickets, do those prices skyrocket?
They do. A perfect example was recently the Ohtani game, the Ohtani 50-50 game where he went like 5 for 6, 3 or 4 home runs, whatever he did. I forgot what he did in that game, 15 RBIs or something ridiculous. So that was in front of the Florida Marlins crowd because nobody goes to watch baseball in Florida. So there was like 11,000 people there. There was like nobody there. And in like an arena that holds like 50, 60,000. So, but what they did afterwards is a lot of people were able to walk over to the box office at the end of the game. And for $5 each, they were printing general admission tickets for people. So there's a lot of people that really cashed out. They spent $800 and just bought a bunch of tickets for $5 each, and they were going for as high as $800 each on eBay. Wow. Yeah, so people were making a killing on that. But I think, to answer your question really primarily is it enhances it. It enhances it more, and it shows that these physical tickets are these time capsules from back in the day, because I've been to so many events, concerts or sporting events, where you just scan your phone
What about what's your hottest Yankees?
I like the Jorge Posada first hit ticket because that when Jorge Posada first came onto the Yankees, he completed what they called the core four. Yeah. So he completed, I like to call it the core five.
This is Posada, Jeter, Pettit,
Rivera. And the fifth one is Bernie.
It's Bernie.
Okay.
Even though I don't know why they call it the core four and they don't call it the core five. Bernie was drafted at 16 years old, lifer as a Yankee. To me, it's the core five, very disrespectful, not include Bernie. But on that ticket was Jorge Posada's first hit, but it was also very important because it was a day that in 1996 when they clinched the American League East. So that was the first for Joe Torre and that Yankees team, the first for that core four, the fourth
Mattingly
member of the core four.
retired.
Mattingly retires the year before. Tino Martinez is now the first baseman. Buck Showalter gets fired. Joe Torre becomes the coach. It's the start of everything. I take it. So that's one of my favorites.
Wow. He signed it or no?
Posada signed it. He wrote first MLB hit on the bottom.
I believe
episode 14 of To Take a Bastard coming up next month.
Too. I actually saw him a few times at Upper East Side. I don't think he's big on signing things. He's not a big signer, I don't think. Or the vibe I got.
No, he's not really about that life.
Yeah.
He doesn't really like going to shows. He doesn't like signing things. He's not really.
Give me your dream ticket. Like if Dave will find it for you. Give us your dream ticket with signature.
I think for me, it would probably be one of the World Series games. It was the Subway Series game that Jeter hit the leadoff home run in 2000. Yeah, Jeter signed Game 4 World Series ticket. And the reason why I said that is to piggyback off what you said. Derek Jeter, when he was an active player, he was very stingy when it came to media appearances, doing events, signing stuff. Yeah. And he realized that there was a lot of value in holding back his signature and his like. And if you notice, when it comes to Jeter memorabilia, there's a little less out there of him. That's why his stuff's a little more expensive. So do you have anything related to Jeter, like Game 4 of the World Series or one of his better games? Maybe the All-Star Game ticket where he won the All-Star Game MVP?
Mr. November.
Mr. November, right?
Great one, yeah. And he does a few signings. He's out there and he does like 2 or 3 a year. They're private signings. You can never be in the same room for him, but you can send in things and submit it. So I get emails. I just got an email a few days ago that he's doing another one recently.
What's he get? You send in a ticket. What would he charge? Roughly.
Like $800.
The cost?
To sign a ticket.
To sign it. Jeez. And then he'll make you sign an NDA, and then the next morning he's going to give you a gift basket.
Right. Like you do if you sleep with him. Right?
He does.
That's how you get in bed with Jeter.
Yeah. Dave can't tell this story, but Dave has some stories about that too.
Yeah. Maybe off the air.
I got a good ticket, or a ticket or a picture.
Good.
It was a Thanksgiving game, Thursday Night Football. Jets, Patriots. I want a signed picture of Mark Sanchez with the buff fumble.
Oh, man. That's rough. And whoever the offensive lineman was, whose actual
Brandon
ass
Moore.
That he ran into. Was it Brandon Moore?
It was Brandon Moore.
There's no appetite for Mark Sanchez stuff, right?
No, but I think he's still on the air. He does some.
He does Fox. He does the color commentary.
Yeah, he does color.
He's a good broadcaster.
You know what? It's funny. Fox, they have like all these like NFL players who are like rejects, but they all went to USC. And so there's a big executive over there at Fox that is a USC alum. So they hire all these guys who probably shouldn't even be on air.
Is there anybody real quick, David? Anybody who like wasn't good, but whatever reason popped off in value, or maybe was mediocre, but some reason has like, I don't know, I'm gonna say Deion Sanders because he was good. But who was somebody who like, damn, they're worth a lot, but when they played, they weren't good or mediocre, or you're surprised about their value over time? Anybody who jumps out at you?
I mean, you get guys that that passed pretty early on in life.
Okay.
You know, we talk about Gary Carter. Gary Carter was phenomenal, but I mean, his stuff is expensive.
Yeah.
It's hard to find Gary Carter autographs, Tom Seaver autographs. But a guy like
Tom Seaver's stingy, I heard.
And passed away a while ago.
Yeah, and hard to get his wine. I got a funny story about the wine in a second, but go.
Yeah.
Very hard to get his wine.
Yeah. But a guy like Orlando Woolridge, who was a power forward for the Chicago Bulls when Jordan first joined that team, and he was a 20-point scorer on that team.
Yeah.
Orlando Woolridge died like maybe 11 years ago at a very young age, and his stuff's still popping off, and the prices are insane for like a rookie card, a autographed rookie card's $500-$600.
Yeah.
When like if he was still alive, or if he like played out his whole career and he was still alive, it's I mean, he was a decent. It's a $30 or $40 card.
I got a funny Tom Seaver story. So I was at my sister's house, and he's a Tom Seaver rookie. I think it's signed actually.
Oof,
I think it's signed. And Tom Seaver at a winery.
Yes.
So my sister and I, for some reason, had a bottle of wine, probably a little tipsy. We're hanging out, bullshitting, and we're like, "Oh, that's the Tom Seaver's wine. Let's open it." Not thinking nothing of it. My brother-in-law almost had a heart attack. So it was about a few years ago. So I'm like, internet age, but I know wine search, or I'll find it. You can't get it. I don't know how you call the wine. You just can't get it. It's impossible. So like 10 years later, I was at a bar, and it was around Christmas time, and I'm like, had a few drinks, and I was like, I got to get him a bottle of wine. So I jumped online and found a rare bottle for like $300, and I sent it to him. He was so happy, but he was so pissed. I think even though I got him a new bottle, I think he's still like low key pissed.
I think the people that own those bottles probably don't open them. Probably
correct.
They just stay in their wine cellar forever.
So I was just trying to think. You have any good Mattingly stuff? Anything Mattingly?
Yeah, so I had 2 Mattingly tickets. One of them sold. One of them I still have. Mattingly was a great guy. Mattingly was one of the reasons why I started this Ticket Bastard show, is because I was online for Mattingly the first time I met him, and you could just see the humdrum look on his face as he signs baseball after baseball, after basic 8x10 photo, after another 23 jersey. And then I come in with 2 tickets, and I'm like, this is opening day against the Detroit Tigers. Your first game as Yankee captain. And this is the last game of the season in 1984, where you and Dave Winfield were going for the batting title. You and your teammate Dave Winfield.
I was young.
The last game of the year. And he looked at me like, who the fuck are you, dude? So
he's a cool guy.
He's a great guy, but he was just like, wow, like totally blown away. And then at that same show, like Paul O'Neill just like looking at me like, this guy, Aaron Boone. Like, and then before you know it, they all start talking about
You don't have the Aaron Boone ticket, do you?
I do have the Aaron Boone ticket.
Signed?
I have multiple. The Aaron Boone walk-off home run ticket, I do have it signed.
Okay.
You guys were young for that, right?
I remember it.
No, I remember it.
They rewarded him by kicking him out of the curtain.
I was at a bar in Roseville Park. It was like, what is it, like 12th inning or something like that?
I remember what I was doing.
Yeah, off of Tim Wakefield and knuckleballer, and
how much that go for?
They're in the $1,000 range. Yeah, there's quite a few of them out there because it was a packed house. So and everybody keeps that ticket.
Yeah, but you got to sign it. You got to find it signed too, though.
Got it signed. Yeah. So again,
that sounds low for that, no? Or no?
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't end up winning the World Series, so that's probably decreased the value a little.
Yeah, and mine was a stub, so it was only about.
I have a good question for you.
Yeah.
Of all the major athletes, we'll talk the biggest athletes, like the Alis of the world. Which athlete in particular do you notice has the most forgeries out there, or
good question,
memorabilia that isn't kosher or isn't, doesn't come with the certificate of authenticity or anything like that?
Well, it used to be Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was the clear-cut number one until I think it was the late 90s where he signed with Upper Deck. And Upper Deck memorabilia. And then now if you get anything that's not Upper Deck memorabilia, it's probably fake with Jordan, because he was the most faked athlete ever. So Ali and Jordan were too big. I mean, I think Ali passed before signing some sort of agreement like that, but there's a lot of Ali fakes out there.
What's the holy grail for signatures, ticket stub, signed ticket stub? What's the holy grail?
Oh, if I was to have one and I could pick someone like dead or alive?
Yeah, holy grail.
It would be Jackie Robinson. I mean, it's goosebumps up my arms right now. It'd be Jackie Robinson breaking the color barrier.
Oh, yeah.
Is there tickets of him signed now?
Yeah. No, not signed.
Okay.
Not signed.
Just even the ticket of it. Yeah.
Several $100,000s each, unsigned stubs, little stubs, half the size of my thumb. Have gone for big money. And I showed you recently, I sent you the link of the Wilt Chamberlain 100-point game that sold for $36,000. And again, it was a stub that, half the size of my thumb, but it was in Hershey, Pennsylvania, and only like 6,000, 7,000 people in attendance. So there's not a lot of those little stubs out there.
We got to do a little round robin, because you were just at the World Series, right?
No, I did not go to one of the games. I did not this year.
I thought I saw you there.
No.
Did you post one from the previous year?
I'm trying to
something?
think.
I
No,
swear.
It was the Mets. I was at the Mets.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
you went to Mets.
Yeah, so 2 years ago, in
NLCS.
solidarity, I always go to one game a year, and I'm a good sport because I'm not really a Mets hater. I'm not.
Right.
But like anytime you have the opportunity to make fun of little brother, you take the opportunity to give him a little noogie, right? But 2 years ago we went, and it was I guess the wild card series against the Padres. And that was a rough game to go to because it was Musgrove. It was, the sticky substance and all that. And they didn't really do much. Alonso had the only hit, and it was just not really a great game to go to. But that was the last playoff game I went to.
Okay.
Tough Padres team.
All right. So hold on. So let's just go. Best game we've ever been to. I want to give mine, which I probably had the ticket somewhere, or at least they had seat cushions, and I stole a lot of seat cushions. So remember the last year at Yankee Stadium?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got a few real quick. I'll go through them quickly. Last year at Yankee Stadium, they had the All-Star game.
Right.
It went to 14 innings.
Yes.
The only time we should probably talk about that.
Yeah.
The only time the 7-inning stretch was done twice at an All-Star game ever.
Okay.
At the 14th inning.
At the
they do it
14th
again.
inning, right.
And then there was a walk-off or a hit or something like that.
Yeah, I remember.
I don't remember too much about the end.
So it was like
I think JD Drew came home
was
to
like- it was
score.
like-
Yeah.
It was like
Because
I
he
know
was on the
Josh
Red
Hamilton
Sox.
won the home run contest.
Yeah,
the
it
day
was like
before.
till 2:30 in the
Right.
morning. I would like not.
But it was-
leave.
it was
they
a
had,
spectacle
and they had
weekend.
seat cushions, and I stole like a lot of seat cushions. and then nobody farted at them. I mean, I farted in mine, but and then I was the last Yankee game at Yankee Stadium, and everybody was just pilfering. It was like going for like the Roman Coliseum. So I stole like the Carvel sign,
Oh man.
and like my wife was gonna throw it out. And I'm like, no. She's like, why do you have a Carvel sign? It's from Yankee Stadium. Like,
Right.
So I have that. And then I have the dirt from the outfield from that game.
It's awesome.
So that's probably my best. And I went to Game 2 World Series against the Phillies.
It's gotta be SummerSlam for you.
You're
right?
going to beat me.
Yeah,
but
so
I-
we're also huge pro wrestling fans. So
You got
back
the seat too.
yeah. So I was gonna say, quick point when it comes to the ticket stubs, I have my WrestleMania ticket stub tickets from both of
one?
them that were at MetLife Stadium. So the WrestleMania was in 2013 at MetLife
Very
Stadium.
collectible.
WrestleMania 2019 at
Who were the
MetLife Stadium.
headliners?
So in 2013, it was the rematch between The Rock and John Cena. So it was, 10
stars.
years prior to that, it was Rock versus Hogan. Then it was Rock versus Cena. So every 10 or so years.
But why was
there's
it
always-
Hollywood Hogan? I didn't like that a little bit.
Well, it was the WCW version.
He turned.
Yeah.
He went heel. For
Right.
like a minute there.
But then as soon as he came back and he did the Hollywood shtick, when he made his return to WWE, then he quickly became, the Great American Hulk Hogan soon
That was
after.
a great match.
But another game that always sticks out in my mind that I still have the ticket stub to is the final game at the old Giants Stadium. The Giants didn't close out the stadium. It was a Jets game. It was a Jets-Bengals game. To win the game, they win, you're in, and then they played the Bengals the following week, and they beat them 2 straight weeks. But that game is notable because it was like 5 degrees outside.
Yeah.
I was
and I
there.
sat like 8 to 10 rows all the way up at the old Giants Stadium. So the wind chill that night, they were literally giving out hot chocolate for free.
Yeah.
It was that cold.
Hey.
But by the time it got to you, it tasted like Yoo-Hoo.
Yeah. I was there.
Right.
I was there. We drank a lot of blackberry brandy
you
in
had
the
the
parking
tickets?
lot. Yeah.
I have that ticket. Also, I've also been to the NFL draft a couple times.
That's awesome.
So how are the draft tickets? NFL draft tickets,
Yeah,
NBA
how's
draft
WWE
tickets,
tickets?
and WWE tickets, like pro wrestling tickets, UFC tickets.
Yeah, I have a few good ones. I have Hogan versus Sting in a steel cage match.
Oh, shit.
In 1998 MGM Grand Las Vegas, both signed by Hogan and Sting. It took me like a year to get them both on the same ticket. So very all WrestleMania stuff is very collectible. So I have a WrestleMania 1 ticket, but it's closed circuit television.
Yes.
So it's closed circuit television. It wasn't the actual in the arena. Those are big money.
Wow.
And if you get Hogan and Mr. T to sign that one, that would be incredible.
Yeah, and speaking of wrestler, real quick, I mean, Tom, maybe you got some connections for us. You're a big guy in New Jersey. SummerSlam is going to be at MetLife Stadium this August, 2 nights.
Well, if you teach me how to get media passes, I probably can.
I'll show you how.
I need
Yeah.
to go because I don't have an interest.
Well, we have an entry point within, or with people who used to work for the company. So we have an entry point within, but we are looking to do media, and it's at MetLife Stadium. And what they did with SummerSlam now is they turned it into the WrestleMania of the summer.
money
It is
hungry.
now. But you know something? When business is
Yeah.
good
2 nights
and business is
sure,
booming,
too much.
I'm going to ask Nick a question that I probably should ask offline, but just people learn this stuff about media. Do I get Prudential tickets or do I go to I want tickets to that game? How do media passes work? Do you know?
So it depends on the event of the organization. So, for example, like the season just passed that we did credentials for WNBA, New York Liberty, the champs in New York. Yeah. So last year we were able to get credential, during the season.
As you know, I'm right.
As you know, I'm right.
Okay.
Yep. So when we're sort of affiliated with this other company, Millions.co. So we went on with them a little, but submitted. They have a form online to submit for the game.
So that's for the organizations. Meaning I could maybe get Jets media passes, but not Giants, right? So it goes by organization, not by venue.
It goes by organization. But if you get to like an all-star game or the playoffs, the league handles it. What happened with we tried to go again this year to the first WNBA game of the season with Caitlin Clark playing.
Oh wow!
We were denied because we have 200 people coming in. Right. So
Jesus.
So it just depends. But yeah, a lot of there's forums, there's people, public relations people, but what you learn is some teams are more accommodating than others.
I have this very dumb question. So I live in the digital world, right?
Yeah.
And so like our New Jersey Digest, if you will, gets aggregated to like Google News, Apple News, now Newsbreak. It actually like is like a press release,
right? And
it gets distributed officially like as the same real estate as like NBC.com or anything else, right? Does that matter as media credentials for venues, or they can give a shit? Like, what do they care? What do they care about? Numbers, viewership?
I think they just want to make sure you are like a legit organization, and they'll probably look into your metrics or whatever.
Yeah.
Me, I go, hey, we have this show, we cover this event, we got these people on for your organization in the past. Kind of vouch you. I mean, you have a huge Instagram following. Yeah.
So your association, I think, with New Jersey Digest could probably get you into more events than you think. Yeah. And we can talk outside the scope of sports.
Outside of sports, festivals,
right?
Maybe concerts,
conventions.
I went to long story. Went to When We Were Young in Vegas. It's like a big emo fest. My oldest is into emo. Like every dream band, My Chemical Romance, and all that.
They're gonna have that again next year, I believe.
It is, but this was like the all-star lineup for my son. So long story short, I reached out for press credentials, but it was too late, and I'm pissed because I think I might have gotten them. And the VIP tickets were like $700 each. Oof. Yeah, my wife came. She left early. I'm like, but we paid for these tickets, but. Yeah, but it's fun. But it was a dope concert. All right. In terms of value, what games have you been to? Super.
Yeah, I would say the one that comes to mind for me would be the second ever Winter Classic at Citizens Bank Park, Rangers, Philadelphia Flyers. I was there. It was so cold.
Ticket or media?
Ticket as a fan. So cold that by the time I want to say this end of the second period came around, both of my contacts froze and pop out. So I was watching. I couldn't even see the end of the game. But the crowd was going crazy. The Rangers won, of course.
Right.
Mike Rupp. And it was dangerous to get out of there to get to the parking lot with those Philly fans.
I actually went. I'm kind of pissed at this. I went to the last concert at Shea Stadium.
Oh.
It was Billy Joel. Last concert, right? Last concert. Excited. Because I was like, I gotta half my shit's thrown out, but I used to be able to like I have like all the newspapers, like when Obama won president, like all these different like crazy stuff. I'm gonna go through all that stuff anyway. So I got tickets, really excited last game, but the show did so well they added another day. I was like, motherfucker, I had the last.
I have a good question for you.
Yes.
Piggyback off his point, newspapers and magazines.
Oh yeah,
I have old newspapers from the Yankees runs in the late 90s and the early 2000s. I have Sports Illustrated magazines.
You know the Jordan SI, do you? That's from
right. I was going to say, how does that work? And do the individual magazines without signatures, do they do well, or does it need the signature or something else along with it?
The SIs are certainly collectible, but as you could imagine, there's a lot. They just printed a lot of them,
right?
And then a lot of them got mailed to your house, so they have the person's label on it, which decreases the value. And then sometimes people try to rip off that label and it shows like a little tear there or residue or what have you, also decreases the value. So a clean SI that's like Michael Jordan's first SI cover is very valuable. But like a comic book, it the more you open it up and the more you read it and the binding gets a little more wear and tear, the more it decreases the values. Now, PSA, Professional Sports Authenticators, next year will be starting to grade magazines.
Oh, that's so.
So, and I have, a couple cases of Jordan and LeBron magazines that I'll be looking to send over to them. But so we're going to see that. I think that marketplace is still coming. Newspapers, I don't think as much.
Okay.
When there is something like there's a new president, or there's 9/11, or there's some sort of major world event, those become collectible.
You know what I have? Remember after 9/11, there was like kind of a fiancé, not a widow, because I don't know, when you lose your fiancé, I don't know if that's called widowed or whatever.
Yeah.
And a blonde girl, like she's a crying picture of her, her fiancé. And I have that one, and it turned out to be Rachel. You could tell, the one who jammed up Tiger Woods.
Oh, really?
Really?
That's so funny.
Wow.
Yeah. So like 20 years later, I was kind of funny. I reached out once because I wanted her to sign it, but I thought she would have signed it.
That kind of reminds me of a big card right now that's major value, especially right now, the Mark Jackson Knicks card with the Menendez brothers in the back row. What does that go for these days, especially with them back in the news?
Yeah, well, so it's been around for a while. I think it's been maybe 10 years or so since people recognized that the Menendez brothers were there in the front row. It's the 1990 Hoops Mark Jackson base card. Both Menendez brothers are sitting front row on there. So originally, people were saying that was an alibi, that their alibi was they were going to be front row at the Knicks game. They just killed their parents.
He was wearing a white jersey. That's home, isn't it?
Yeah, so it didn't work. It didn't work out. Yeah. Like when you start going back and you start looking at the case for whatever reason. I haven't dipped into it in a while. I haven't watched a new Menendez show.
My wife's obsessed with it.
Yeah.
But still very collectible, just the base card. Like if that card didn't have the Menendez brothers there, it would just be...
I bet you that card would actually do very well with a non-sports person, because right now the Menendez things is like way hot right now.
Yeah. So at a PSA 10, it's around $1,000. And but just regular raw. Just like if anyone who had, like me, just bought a bunch of 1990 Hoops boxes for like $8 a box back then, because that was a real bargain basement, basketball cards. You get the real cheaper brand. Those Mark Jackson cards were 10 or 15 cents each, and they were just flying around. Like, get so many of them until we discovered that the Menendez brothers were there. Then they became $30 to $50 each.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Well, Julian's giving us the hook. Where can we find you, Dave?
At Iconic Sports Official, at Iconic Sports _official on Instagram, Iconic Sports Media on YouTube to see the Ticket Bastard podcast and web series.
I know you guys were the main focus today. We're definitely going to do this again because this was fun. I used to be really big into sports, kind of maybe focus just on football, but I like to talk about the older stuff. Where can we find it, Nick?
Yeah, well, you can find the podcast at YKIR Podcast on Instagram, and my podcast. Just search it: YouTube, Spotify, Apple, etc. We're on TikTok, Facebook, Twitter, now X. It's all there. I'm on Instagram at Nick's Food and Stuff, and I'm on Twitter at Nick_Durst.
I'll put some of the links below.
Yes, I'm on Instagram at Joey Cals. On Twitter X, I'm Calabrese1. That's where you can find the podcasts. Where can we find you?
At New Theory Podcast. This was a good one, guys. We're going to do it again.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.